because of what we are against, but what we are for. One guy does not define this country. One person in one office. This election is not a referendum on him. It's a referendum on who we are and who we must be to each other. There is a level of moral vandalism going on in the White House right now that is absolutely a betrayal of our common bonds, our common values, the virtues of this nation. This next election is going to be about that truth. It's going to be about our light. It's going to be about our love. I want to know why I get really pumped when I fly into LA is because this is... That Rosario, yes, too, yes. But before there was Rosario, my mom was raised here. My mom is a proud graduate of Manual Arts High School. My brother, whose daughter is here, my first cousin Kim, her brother, my uncle, went to LA High. My grandparents and family lived all over LA, from Baldwin Hills to the La Brea area. At some point, they were like George Jefferson, moved on up to Wilshire Boulevard. But that's the American dream. And so, if you all allow me, I want to talk a little different than I usually do because I know the hour's late. Folks have been sweating Jersey sweat here. I know.
Take your time.
I want to take my time and talk about these values and these virtues. Look, I have to admit that, I got my BA from Stanford. Tough to say. I know I'm in Trojan territory. I know I'm in Bruin territory. Y'all, I used to come down here as a Stanford football player, and you guys put some hurt on me. But I want you all to know that I may have got my BA from Stanford, but I got my PhD on the streets of Newark. I had a father that used to look at me when I went to Stanford, Oxford, Yale. He's like, boy, you got 4 degrees in the month of July, but you ain't hot. Life is not about the degrees you get, it's about the service you give. I moved into Newark when I was still a Yale law student, and I had that Yale law arrogance about me. But I still was guided by this understanding that to make my family proud, my family that got to where they are because people fought for them, stood for them, often people who prayed differently or looked differently understood we were one nation with one destiny and that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. My parents taught me very explicitly that we drank deeply, in our generation we drank deeply from wells of freedom and liberty. And justice that we didn't dig, we lavishly from banquet tables prepared for us by the labors of our ancestors. And my dad would say, boy, you can't just sit around here consuming these blessings, getting dumb, fat, and happy. My father said that you got to get out into the world because you can't pay the blessings back, you got to pay them forward. So it was 20 plus years ago that I showed up into the neighborhood I still live in. And in the 90s, it was a neighborhood that had a lot of challenges. That's what I perceived. There was a crack house I moved next to. There was shootings in my community quite often. There were projects across the street. And even as I was moving my stuff into my car, I came back to my car and my stuff was stolen. and so I was told that there was one woman I had to find who was a tenant president of the projects across the street, that if I really wanted to make a difference, I had to seek her out and find her, and I did. And I knocked on her door with that Yale Law School swagger, and she's like, what do you want? And I go, ma'am, I'm here to help you. And she gave me this look that was like right through me, as if she was saying, boy, you need some help. So this is what she did with me in my early moments. She took me to Martin Luther King Boulevard, right in front of the projects, right across from the crack house, and she said, tell me what you see. I go, what do you mean? She goes, you want to help me, you got to tell me what you see outside of you. And I said, okay, I see crack house. I just described the neighborhood just like I described it to you a few moments ago. And the more I talked, the more upset this woman looked at me. And finally, I stopped, and she just said, you can't help me, and she walks away from me. And I'm confused, so I chase after her, stop her very respectfully. And I said, ma'am, what are you talking about? And she looks at me and she says, boy, you need to understand something. The world you see outside of you is a reflection of what you have inside of you. And if you're one of these people who looks at my community and all you see is problems and darkness and despair, that's all there's ever going to be. But if you're one of those stubborn people who every time you open your eyes, you see hope, you see opportunity, you see love, you see the face of God, boy, then you can be one of those people that helps me. And she walked away from me, leaving me on that street, looking at my feet, thinking to myself, okay, grasshopper, thus ended the lesson. Miss Virginia Jones, we named a street after her. She's now passed, but she was one of these people with a fierce, defiant love. She knew that patriotism is love of country, but you cannot love your country unless you love your fellow countrymen and women. Love is not sentimentality. Love isn't sentimentality. Love is sacrifice. Love is work. Love is struggle. Love says that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Love says that if your kids don't have a great public school to go to, my kids are less off. Yeah. So this was a woman who was an agent, a fierce agent of love in our neighborhood. I began working with her and beginning to see this community through her eyes. To see why she had no real title, but she was so respected because she taught me you can't lead the people if you don't love the people.
Amen.
Woo! She taught me that our very nation, our national anthem starts with, oh say can you see? Yeah. It goes back to so many of our religious traditions. If there's no vision, the people will perish. And so what is the vision we have right now for this nation? And more importantly, what's the vision we have for each other? Have we come to a point in America where we have such an impotency of empathy that we cannot see the struggles of our neighbors, of our fellow Americans, and how it affects us? There is a cancer in this country right now. That we have a nation that my generation could be the first generation where life expectancy goes down. Deaths of despair, opioid addiction, suicide. Where we don't lead the planet Earth anymore in investments in research and development, percentage of your GDP. No, we lead the planet Earth in infant mortality amongst industrial nations and maternal mortality amongst industrial nations. This is a moment of empathy, and I'm telling you, for my fellow Democrats in the room, I sometimes get concerned when I hear that the most important thing folk want in a candidate right now in this election is just to beat Donald Trump. But let me tell you right now, I want to beat him, defeat him, unseat him. But let me tell you right now, beating Donald Trump is not enough. We got to have bigger aspirations for that. Beating Donald Trump is a floor. It's not the ceiling. Beating Donald Trump may get us out of the valley, but it doesn't get us to the mountaintop. Let me tell you right now. On my block where I live, because I still live in that neighborhood, I'm the only United States senator, the only person running for president actually, who lives in a community below the poverty line.